Do not want to plot the cat. Shut up, plant. Shut up, the plant.
A tunnel no one knew existed suddenly appeared beneath Tony Beets' mining claim. When it was finally opened, investigators discovered shocking items that could land him in serious trouble. Old explosives, hidden documents, and equipment raised serious questions. Why were they there? And how long have they been hidden? Join us as we reveal the full story behind the hidden system. The hidden tunnel system beneath Tony Beets' Yukon claim. In a remote part of the Yukon, a tunnel system that had been hidden for decades was recently discovered under one of Tony Beets' older mining sites. The discovery came during a routine inspection by land surveyors and environmental officers who were checking the area for safety, environmental compliance, and land use permits. On the surface, the signs were subtle: slight dips in the ground, faint metal echoes under the soil, and traces of old ventilation shafts. These small clues pointed to something hidden below, a structure that had gone unnoticed for many years. The tunnels are extensive, stretching several hundred feet underground with multiple branching paths. They are clearly man-made, not natural caves, and were built with reinforced timber and metal supports designed to withstand harsh condition. The layout shows careful planning, with different sections seemingly created for specific purposes. Scattered throughout the corridors, investigators found old tools and machinery parts, many tagged with dates corresponding to mining seasons from years ago. This shows that the tunnels were actively used at one point, rather than simply being storage spaces left behind. Entering the tunnels required extreme caution. The inspection team had to secure the entrance and stabilize areas that were at risk of collapse. Oxygen levels were low in certain parts, water had seeped in to create slippery surfaces, and loose gravel made movement hazardous. Every step was recorded on camera, both for safety and to provide documentation for mining regulations, environmental protection, and insurance purposes. Inside, the tunnels revealed a mix of equipment and materials from past operations. Maps, blueprints, and project logs detailed old mining projects, while fuel drums, worn-out generators, metal pipes, and cables were stored in other sections. One area appeared intentionally hidden, with locked metal crates, water-damaged financial ledgers, and boxes containing old royalty contracts, land leases, and operational permits. A collection of geological samples, some from areas never officially declared, hinted at the tunnel's role in early exploration. Even an old radio set with recorded tapes suggested that the tunnels had been part of a broader communication system for coordinating work. Some findings raised serious regulatory concerns. Expired explosives and unreported chemicals could violate safety rules, and the size and depth of certain tunnels suggested unauthorized excavation. Officials noted that the discovery required a full audit and that the mining company would need to explain the purpose of the hidden tunnels and their contents. The big question now is why such an extensive system was built and what purpose all the hidden materials served. Why the tunnel system was built and what was hidden. The tunnels beneath Tony Beets' claim were not built for ordinary storage. They reflect a mix of practical needs, strategic thinking, and operational planning. During the years when Beets expanded aggressively and opened multiple claims, miners needed safe spaces to protect tools, machinery, and documents. The Yukon winters are long and harsh, and storing equipment above ground meant risking freezing, damage, or theft. Underground tunnels offered protection from the weather and a secure environment for valuable items. Yet the size of these tunnels goes beyond what is needed for ordinary storage, suggesting there were additional reasons behind their construction. Temperature stability is one practical advantage. Underground spaces remain much cooler in summer and warmer in winter, helping protect sensitive equipment, fuel, and materials. Security is another reason. Remote mining sites are vulnerable to trespassers, and storing expensive tools, explosives, and chemicals underground made them less likely to be stolen or tampered with. Operational secrecy also played a role. Beets often kept new techniques, sites, and projects hidden from competitors, and the tunnels provided a private space for preparing and testing ideas before full-scale operations. Certain materials were clearly stored underground for protection. Early failed projects, abandoned experiments, disputed land ownership maps, and confidential hiring records were all hidden away, but the most shocking discovery of all was yet to be made. The hidden financial records that revealed Tony Beets' true wealth. Investigators who explored Tony Beets' hidden tunnel system discovered more than old mining tools and machinery. Among the most shocking findings were financial records, meticulously stored and preserved for decades. These documents painted a picture of Beets' mining empire far beyond what the public has seen. While Wikipedia and other public sources estimate his net worth at around $15 million, the financial records suggested he actually earned significantly more, potentially tens of millions above the reported value. The records included detailed ledgers, operational logs, supplier invoices, and crew payment statements showing profits from early mining operations and smaller side claims that had never been reported publicly. Maps marking high-yield gold sites indicated that Beets had access to lucrative areas well before they became widely known. Machinery purchases and equipment costs were also listed, revealing that some investments had been hidden from official reporting. Together, these items provided a comprehensive view of income, expenses, and profits across decades of work. The ledgers highlighted cash-heavy operations in the early years, which allowed Beets to move quickly and discreetly in the competitive Yukon mining landscape. Some smaller, previously undisclosed claims were shown to produce significant returns, far exceeding estimates based on public information. Other records documented occasional losses from failed projects or abandoned ventures, giving a more complete picture of both risks and rewards. By analyzing the records, it became clear that Beets' financial empire had been quietly growing, in many cases well beyond the reported $15 million. These discoveries explain why Beets maintained strict control over his operations and documents. Confidentiality ensured that sensitive financial details, site locations, and contract terms remained private. The physical storage of records in underground tunnels allowed him to maintain a secret archive, protected from competitors, environmental hazards, and potential legal scrutiny. But why were these records hidden? What was the purpose of maintaining such a secret archive of wealth? Were there legal or strategic reasons behind this secrecy? Why these records were hidden? Questions about secrecy and strategy. The discovery of Tony Beets' financial records immediately raises a critical question. Why were they hidden underground for decades? The documents suggest he earned far more than the publicly reported $15 million. Could this secrecy be a strategic move? Or is it tied to other motives such as tax avoidance, protection of assets, or simply maintaining privacy? One possibility is that Beets sought to keep certain income streams off public and government scrutiny. Yukon mining is highly competitive, and undisclosed profits could protect Beets from scrutiny by rivals or even regulators. Keeping financial records hidden might have allowed him to control the narrative of his operations, showing only the income and investments he wanted the public or authorities to see. Another question is whether the hidden wealth reflects tax strategy or avoidance. By storing records underground and operating some cash-heavy or undisclosed ventures, Beets may have been minimizing exposure to taxes or creating a layer of financial privacy. The records themselves do not provide definitive proof of wrongdoing, but they certainly raise questions about how income was reported and managed over the years. Secrecy may also have been driven by competitive advantage. Mining is a high-stakes business where knowledge of gold yields, site locations, and equipment investments can directly affect success. The hidden records include detailed maps, financial logs, and operational plans, suggesting that Beets wanted to keep his methods and profits hidden until he was ready to act. Protecting these documents may have ensured that rival miners could not duplicate or intercept his strategies. The presence of extensive underground storage also leads to broader questions. Was the system intended solely for operational secrecy, or did it serve multiple purposes, combining safety, wealth protection, and strategic planning? Could it be a mix of personal habit and professional strategy, a way to preserve historical financial records while maintaining control over his mining empire? Finally, the discovery provokes curiosity about the true scale of Beets' financial influence. If he earned far more than $15 million, as the records suggest, how much more was there? How did these hidden profits impact his operations, partnerships, and decision-making over the years? How does this hidden system connect to Beets' financial success? And what can the records and materials found inside tell us about the true scale of his wealth? The consequences. What the hidden records mean for Tony Beets. The discovery of Tony Beets' hidden financial records has sent shockwaves through the Yukon mining community. For decades, Beets has been recognized as one of the most successful and influential miners in the region. His public net worth is generally estimated at around $15 million, but the tunnel records suggest a far larger financial empire built quietly over decades of operations. Now, with authorities aware of these undisclosed records, Beets faces significant legal, financial, and operational consequences. One of the most immediate concerns is tax compliance. Mining in the Yukon is heavily regulated, and operators are required to report income, profits, and expenditures accurately. The hidden records indicate that some earnings, particularly from smaller side claims and cash-heavy operations, were never reported to the government. If authorities determine that income was deliberately concealed, Beets could face claims of tax evasion, including substantial back taxes, penalties, and interest. Even if the unreported earnings were accidental or overlooked, the sheer scale of the records now under scrutiny could trigger an extended investigation. Government agencies may also examine licensing and regulatory compliance. Operating a mining claim legally requires adherence to multiple rules, including financial transparency, safety protocols, and environmental protections. The tunnels, with their hidden records and unregistered materials, could be considered a violation of these regulations. Authorities might require audits of all his operations, temporarily suspend mining licenses, or even freeze specific assets until a full review is completed. Any discovered violations could also affect Beets' ability to renew permits for current or future claims. The financial consequences extend beyond taxes and licenses. If fines are imposed or regulatory action is taken, Beets may be responsible for significant repayment and legal costs. This could affect the profitability of ongoing operations, particularly if the government requires him to halt certain activities while investigations are underway. Equipment may need to be inventoried, historical documents submitted for verification, and operational procedures reviewed. These requirements could slow down mining work, especially during peak gold-producing seasons, impacting both revenue and scheduling. Another aspect of concern is public perception and reputation. Beets has built his career on decades of hands-on experience, bold operations, and innovation in mining techniques. The revelation that he maintained hidden financial records and undisclosed earnings could raise questions about transparency and ethics. Partners, investors, and the mining community may view his actions with skepticism, wondering whether other aspects of his business were similarly concealed. Trust and credibility are vital in mining operations, especially when partnerships and contracts are involved, and any hint of impropriety can have lasting consequences. The hidden records also raise questions about operational practices and safety. Many of the documents relate to materials, machinery, and chemicals that were stored underground without proper reporting. Regulatory authorities may classify some of these items as hazardous or unregistered, requiring immediate remediation. Failure to properly manage these materials could lead to additional fines or forced removal, which may further disrupt mining operations. Financial and legal implications are not the only challenge. The hidden records expose a side of Beets' operations that had been invisible for decades, creating uncertainty about how income, profits, and investments were managed. This revelation could prompt authorities to expand their review, potentially examining previous years of activity in great detail. The discovery also raises questions about the future of Beets' operations and the people closest to him. With regulatory authorities aware of the hidden records, the decisions he makes in the coming months will be critical. Will he cooperate fully, providing documentation and clarification to mitigate penalties? Or could disputes arise over interpretation of the records, leading to prolonged legal and financial battles? These outcomes will directly impact not only his wealth, but also the sustainability of his mining claims and projects. The situation also creates uncertainty for family and partners involved in his business. The hidden records may trigger discussions about responsibility, succession, and operational control. The discovery leads naturally to another crucial question: how will Beets' family, especially his son, Kevin, respond to this crisis? Will they stand together to protect the empire, or will internal conflicts arise that reshape the business entirely? Will his son stand by or take control? The discovery of Tony Beets' hidden financial records has placed his mining empire under unprecedented scrutiny. With regulatory authorities examining decades of unreported earnings, undisclosed materials, and secret operations, the attention is no longer solely on Tony himself. The spotlight now also falls on his family, particularly his son, Kevin Beets, who has long worked alongside him in the mines. This raises critical questions about loyalty, succession, and the future of one of the Yukon's most famous mining operations. Tony Beets' son has been deeply involved in the mining business from a young age. He has learned the techniques, operational strategies, and management practices that have made Beets a household name in the mining world. Over the years, he has gained hands-on experience with dredges, heavy machinery, and claim operations, making him an integral part of the company's daily operations. Now, with the hidden records exposed, his role becomes even more pivotal. How he responds could determine whether the family maintains control or faces internal conflict. One possibility is that Kevin will fully support his father through this crisis. In this scenario, he could assist in coordinating with regulators, organizing audits, and compiling all documentation needed to clarify any discrepancies. His familiarity with the business would allow him to explain operational decisions, justify historical practices, and help mitigate penalties. Standing by his father could preserve the family's public image, reinforce trust in the mining community, and demonstrate unity in the face of scrutiny. Cooperation could also help ensure that permits remain active and that mining operations continue with minimal disruption. Support could also extend to managing the financial aftermath. The hidden records revealed that the company operated with far more wealth than publicly reported. Understanding these records, reconciling accounts, and presenting accurate information to authorities would be critical tasks. His involvement could help reduce potential fines, penalties, and tax liabilities. In addition, his role could reassure investors, partners, and the local community that the business is taking steps to comply with regulations, even under extraordinary circumstances. However, another possibility is that this crisis could lead to tension between father and son. The exposure of hidden financial records and undisclosed operations could prompt Kevin to consider taking control of the company, particularly if he sees it as an opportunity to modernize operations, increase transparency, or protect the business from future risks. The tunnel and its contents may have highlighted for him both the strengths and vulnerabilities of the current system. He may question whether past secrecy was a necessary strategy or a liability that could endanger the company. If Kevin chooses to take a more independent path, the situation could create a power struggle within the family. This might involve redefining leadership roles, restructuring ownership, or establishing new operational protocol. Kevin could argue that transparency, modern financial reporting, and compliance with government regulations are necessary for long-term sustainability. Such changes could protect the company from future legal or financial challenges, but they could also strain the relationship between father and son, particularly if Tony Beets sees these moves as a challenge to his authority. Family dynamics in situations like this are complex. Loyalty, respect, and shared history can motivate a son to support his father, even in difficult circumstances. Yet, ambition, responsibility, and concern for the future of the company may lead him to act independently, balancing family loyalty with business pragmatism. This tension between personal allegiance and professional responsibility is not uncommon in family-run businesses, especially when a crisis exposes hidden risks. Kevin's decision could also influence the perception of the company outside the family. A united front may reassure regulators, the mining community, and business partners that the company is stable and capable of addressing challenges responsibly. On the other hand, signs of internal conflict could create uncertainty, prompting closer scrutiny from authorities and potential hesitation from collaborators or investors. The way this family navigates the current crisis could have long-term implications for the reputation and operational stability of the company. Another factor is succession planning. Tony Beets is now facing both legal and financial uncertainty, which may accelerate discussions about who will lead the company in the future. The hidden financial records suggest that the business has always operated with a level of secrecy that could make succession complicated. Kevin, being deeply involved, may be well positioned to take over operations, but only if he can demonstrate the ability to manage compliance, ensure transparency, and maintain profitability. His willingness to step into a leadership role could safeguard the legacy of the family business for generations. The situation also presents a moral and ethical dimension. If Kevin chooses to support his father, he must reconcile reconcile the family's loyalty with the reality of regulatory violations and undisclosed wealth. If he decides to take control, he must navigate the delicate balance between protecting the company and potentially challenging his father's decisions. Either choice carries consequences for the family, the business, and their standing in the mining community. The scenario also raises broader questions. Can the family maintain unity under pressure, or will this crisis reveal divisions that were previously hidden? How will the mining community react if a shift in leadership occurs? And how will regulators respond to a company navigating both legal scrutiny and internal change? The answers remain uncertain, but one thing is clear. The hidden tunnel and its financial records have not only exposed wealth and secrecy, but have also put the family's future at stake. As investigations continue and the family grapples with these decisions, all eyes are on Tony Beets and his son. Their choices now will determine whether the empire survives as a unified family legacy, adapts under new leadership, or faces challenges that may redefine the future of Yukon mining. The hidden tunnel has revealed more than gold and machinery. It has revealed the true test of family loyalty, leadership, and legacy in the world of high-stakes mining. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.